Hello, I'm Zaraganat and welcome to the studio this evening. And in the studio tonight, it does feel like a does feel like a television broadcast. It is a television broadcast. Oh dear. Yeah, it sounds like, I don't know what it sounds like, but yeah. Right, so I'm going to do some more pyrography. Do some more of this Hearthstone card, but before I forget, I'm just going to put some tools away that are laid here, so that I don't lose them. I know where to find them again if I want them. Change glasses so I can see what I'm doing. Let my eyes get used to these, because for some reason I'm not quite used to them, but right. I'm kind of leaning towards doing the easy bit. Yeah, let's do the easy bit. I'm kind of feeling a little bit sort of sleepy-ish, tired, so easy bit sounds like a great thing at the moment. That's turned down, that's fine. So this is going to be a relatively light area. And my guideline has rubbed off, so let's hope I can do this reasonably well without one. Okay, so doing quite well. So tonight I'm suffering from my art. You possibly can't tell, but I am stood slightly to one side. That's because there is a pussycat laid fast asleep just down here, right where I'd normally stand. I'm stood over and sort of around him, and he's not bothered. But I kind of don't really want to disturb him. That's Junior, by the way, who's laid down there. I'll try and keep a constant-ish colour. May need a little bit more heat just to help this tool recover. But as it stands at the moment, it's relatively difficult to get it to go too dark in a reasonably quick pass like I'm doing here. If I hold it in place, it will go darker, but just doing a quick pass like this, it sort of caps the colour. Doesn't actually in practice, but it sort of does, which means that it's a little bit easier to do. Now there isn't, relatively speaking, there isn't a lot more to do on this. Laser, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. Thank you for watching. Nice to see you around. I'm thinking that maybe, and this is where I'm going to be proven wrong, but maybe a couple of days more work on this. And I've got to start thinking about what to do next. And I'm kind of thinking I might do some more pyrography next. But then I've got to think of a subject. I could do another card. That might be another Hearthstone card. That might be an interesting idea. I've had at least one more card suggested, with a dragon on it, which, given that I finished Ruth not so long ago, not the same dragon of course, but that might be interesting to do a dragon. It has indeed been a while, Laser. I saw you the other night as well. So what have you been up to whilst you've not been watching me stream? I think you said, didn't you, that you haven't really been watching Twitch at all? Or am I mixing you up now with somebody else? You know, I'm kind of doing this photorealism style, which means I don't have black marker lines around everything. Instead I've got black pencil marks. So that's that side. It must be darker underneath here. So I've got no marker lines down here at all, so let's do this at completely freehand. Ooh, that might be nice. Ah. Right. Yeah, there's a border on this. I nearly missed that. Oh, I'm sorry to hear you've had a rough week, Laser. Hopefully it gets better or doesn't last very much longer. I've certainly had a busy week. It's not been a particularly rough week, but sort of a sort of a disruption occurred yesterday. Yeah, blimey. Something happened yesterday And already it feels like that was a few days ago. Ah, yes. Yeah, laser. Oh, no. Eat more chips? Am I getting confused? I am because eat more chips, if I remember correctly. Oh, I'm sorry. It has kind of been a long 48 hours since I last streamed. I'm sorry to hear your cat died. They are members of the family. It's not a pleasant time, so I offer my condolences. I'm very sorry to hear that. Hopefully you will remember them always. Oh, this wasn't our cat, but may marmalade be forever purring. This wasn't ours, but similar sort of thing. Yeah, eat more chips, if I remember correctly. It was his cat died. 20-year-old cat died on Tuesday as well, and it's a couple of years since his other cat, which was Bob, was 18 years old. And you wrote an exam today. Well, hopefully you did well on the exam, despite the circumstances. I know it's not easy. We've had quite a few cats in our time, which sadly are not with us anymore. And I don't particularly look forward to the time when these 4 that we've got now are not here anymore either. Both Junior and Felix are starting to be sort of elderly gentlemen. Yeah. Yeah, it does just catch you. You'll just have a thought and then suddenly find you're feeling all upset. And it can be something like, his favourite place, her favourite place, and you can just see it and crack up completely. So totally understand that. Just remember that whilst she was with you, you gave her a good home, which she enjoyed being in, and you enjoyed her being there as well, and that will help a little. Yeah, well, as you know, you can know it's going to happen. It will happen to all the family members and yourself at time, me at some point, but it doesn't make it any easier to know that. That sentence does suggest you may have some other furry friends as well. Is that the case? Still have Kiara and Koji. Adopted you about 2 years ago. Yeah, they sometimes do that. Do you remember the story of Junior? Junior adopted us. In fact, actually, we've had 2 cats adopt us. The others have been adopted, but they've been rescue cats. Junior was one of the ones that adopted us, and Cleo, who is no longer with us, also adopted us as well. But Cleo adopted us with 4 soon-to-be-born kittens. Oh, it was soon-to-be-born at the time. So did he just move in one day, or from nowhere, or did he sort of visit for a while, and I assume Koji's a male, but that's making a guess. It might not be. Did they visit for a while and gradually move in, or you just one day came in and found another cat there asleep? Oh, okay. It was kind of like that a little bit with our very first 2 cats, Maui and Mindy. They were rescue kittens from one of the rescue charities in the UK. I can't remember which one it was now, but as soon as we went in the room, both of them came straight up to us, and Mindy was the female, Maui was the male, and straight away as they came up to us, I think it was Mindy forcefully patted Maui on the nose to get him out of the way. So at that point, it was kind of yeah, that's 2 cats that are going to get on with each other, and they're not going to be timid with each other, and we didn't exactly take them home that day, but we sort of took them home. Koji's a sheep. Okay. All right. Okay. I potentially gathered it might have been Oriental, but I didn't know it meant orphan. That's actually a good name, I guess, for that. Cats don't often sort of turn up somewhere if they've decided not to. Usually if they decide to turn up on your doorstep, sort of trying to live with you, It seems as though they have decided they no longer want to own the people they had before, for whatever reason. We've had friends who have, if you like, found cats like that, given them back to the previous people the cat owned, and then the cat's moved straight back out. Okay, so we've got a frame around there. Let's darken that. It's not really distinguished it very well. Let's no, let's darken this. Let's darken the interior a bit. Now at this point I kind of should get a spoon shader out just because it's smaller. So I'm being a little bit lazy. So, who amuses you most then between Kiara and Koji? Because usually often there's one cat that sort of gets up to the tricks and makes people laugh. I am guessing, it's not a hard guess, but they've got completely different personalities. Which one is it that wants to sit on you all the time, or gets jealous of the other? Our female that we've got at the moment, which is Emmy, she's the one that gets jealous of another cat on your knee. If she sees another cat on your knee, she wants to be there as well, to the point where she will effectively push the other cat that's there off. But if you sat there without a cat on your knee, she's not interested. And Theo, being the kitten, he's the one that's causes the most amusement at the moment, I guess. He's also the one that knows how to play cute the most. He's the ginger cat. It's Theo, in fact. I'm not sure if you've seen it. I can show you a picture of Theo, since I happen to have one here. There we go. That's Theo the kitten. Almost in the right colour as well, because he's a ginger kitten. Eva, did they decide that they didn't want to try and persuade her to come back, or did you not tell them? Or what happened there, Leah? More heat. More heat. Nah, I never can fathom that sort of thing, how people can throw them, throw them out and just... It kind of almost makes me sort of speechless. I mean, how you can actually lose. I mean, I know it's possible for a cat to escape from a basket. It's a relative. It's had to happen. But they kind of spent the next several hours looking for the cat until we actually caught it. Because it was in a strange place. It had no idea where it was, really, as far as I know. Although cats do roam a long distance, and it wasn't technically that far away, but it was still in the area, and of course I guess it was frightened because it didn't know where it was, and it would even run away from us, so it took a bit of catching. But yeah, it's just I can't even think of the words to describe how I can't understand how somebody can not want to look after a cat they've adopted. Yeah. Yeah, she's not. Well, yeah. Junior's was kind of the same. I don't know how he grew up. He was a feral cat and probably a couple or so years old when we first saw him, and then it was a couple of years before he moved in. He wouldn't purr for years, a few years. He didn't really. He tolerated being stroked, I guess. I suspect he started to like it, but he wouldn't purr or anything, and he certainly didn't play with anybody. I don't know, other cats or us. Now he's the most we've seen him play actually since we got Theo the kitten, and the two of them get on and they kind of chase each other around occasionally, which is kind of really nice to see because it's something Junior just didn't do. And yeah, he kind of is now getting into liking the head scratching and the head rubbing, and he'll sort of lean into it and things. Yeah. I mean, I think as a kitten they would have known it, but it's almost as though they've had no reason to purr. Well, Junior's a feral, for example. I don't obviously know the background for Koji, but Junior as a feral cat probably didn't have any sort of real reason to purr. Obviously they do it when they're sort of well fed and happy and what have you. And I guess just as a feral cat, he wouldn't have had a lot to eat and would have been living rather than having, because I think like in a house they can act a bit like a kitten because they're being well fed, they can play and things like that, which is a kitten-like behaviour when they purr more. So I think that's probably it. And they would also, cats, one of the reasons cats purr when you stroke them is because well, I'll say they think that you're washing them, like a mother cat would, which they used to purr for. Now, whether they actually go, "Oh, I'm being washed," I don't know, but it could just be the feeling. But I can kind of understand why a cat that's been in the wild for a long time has sort of just lost that ability, sort of just forgotten about purring for a while. Even now, his purr's really quiet. Sometimes he'll be purring so quietly you've actually got to put your ear to his head to hear him. Yeah, that's right, you're grooming them. Yeah. Yeah, that's just... well, Junior used to... you went near him, he'd swipe at you when he meant business, his claws. You would have had your hands raked, or... and yes, he'd bite, and he wouldn't just put his teeth on you, he'd actually bite. So, Theo, well, it's interesting because Theo, and it's literally it's the first time I've thought about it. Theo does the same. He actually scratches and bites, but he's because one of the things I do with Theo when he does that is I hiss at him, and he immediately stops. And it's almost as though, I think with the kitten is kind of learning how far it can go. You know, it's obviously when it's play fighting with its family. I think that's what you call them, isn't it? Family of cats. To the it gets boisterous to the point where one of them sort of hisses at the other, and it stops, and they've learnt the boundary of how far to go, how much they can do that. Use the claws and teeth. And Theo is gradually calming that down. He doesn't use his teeth at all now, and he rarely uses his claws. And I think maybe you're finding with Koji that she's kind of learning what she would have learnt as a kitten, but she's learning it later on in life. Yeah, overreact. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Junior was the same. Actually, I was going to say Junior was the same. Mindy, our first cat, we actually used to call her the feline dustbin. She was a kitten, and she was well fed, but she would eat anything at any time. And we had to be a little bit careful at just how often we fed them. But as kittens, they do eat a lot anyway. But yeah, it was to the point where we called her a feline dustbin. Yeah, she's obviously had a time where quite a bit of time where she wasn't getting a lot of food, and she'd actually eat it as soon as it's there, because it would be gone. I suspect at the time she was probably sleeping a lot as well, because it's kind of the way they live their life in the wild, is they eat and sleep and then just use the energy to catch the next food, and they don't play with the food, they kill it straight away and eat it. And you always tell a well-fed cat, because it will, if it catches a mouse, it won't eat it, it'll just play with it, throw it around. Of course, as well, I guess if they've not been getting enough to eat, then she'll have been catching up on growth, if you like. So she'd have been partly overeating and partly just catching up. I find it fascinating to sort of learn about things like that, the way cats behave, and how some behaviours relate to others. Yeah. A cat that's well fed has the energy to run around and jump around and play and things like that. A cat that's living just on what it's catching will, in between catching food, will use as little energy as possible. You're kind of conserving it for the next catch. I know Lady Zara loves cats. She'd have a cattery if she could, but she'd like I'm gonna say she'd love to look after cats. She wouldn't want to give any of them up though. She sort of owned a rescue centre or something like that, and she wouldn't like getting cats that were not very well. Not that she doesn't mind looking after cats, but she'd be really distressed about the fact that the cat was ill or hurt and things like that. It's she'd kind of love to work in a vet, but she wouldn't like to work in a vet because she'd like to look after the animals, but she wouldn't like to see them injured. I'm stepping over Junior down here. He's got that pub of his nose sort of tucked in, head down. Yeah. I kind of find it hard as well to and hardest of all is the ones that have been deliberately injured. Yeah. You're doing a cute little act down there, Junior. Because all he's trying to do is sleep. That's why the power of the nose increases the carbon dioxide that they're breathing in, which makes them sleepy or helps them stay asleep. Oh dear. Junior is a cat that likes to be with you but doesn't appear to want to impose on you. So he will do things like he'll come and sit by your chair but doesn't want to sit on your knee. Although from time to time you just suddenly find this cat that jumps up. He sort of if you sit on a chair or like I do on sort of the computer chair or works chair, he'll come up and put his paws on the side of the chair and peek over to see if your knee's free, and if it is, he'll jump up, and you suddenly find yourself with a cat on your knee. But then he is insistent on you stroking him, but he doesn't try and stroke you. What he does is he paddles his claws in you. Which, of course, what I've just realised, because we were talking about kitten behaviour, is what he's doing is, if he was doing that to a mother cat, he'd be doing two things: stimulating milk production, and you can sometimes see cats that do that, and they've got the head down, and they're actually looking for the reassurance of being able to sort of suckle and drink milk. But the other thing that does is stimulate the mother to wash them. And Junior, when he's doing that, if you stroke him, he settles down. He stops doing it and settles down. He goes quiet and lays down. If you stop, he sits up and starts doing it again. So I've just realised, yeah, they want the companionship, but they don't want to be, I won't say exactly don't want to be touched, but they sort of just want to know that you're there. Well, Laser, it's kind of like, do you know how to be cute? I'm not sure that it's sort of, oh, I'm going to be cute. I mean, it's a natural behaviour of some kind, but yes, they're doing it to help them sleep. It's makes sleep easier for them, I guess. I think it's kind of nice when a cat just wants to sit by you. You know, it's not sort of taking over. You know, it's not like a cat that wants to be stroked all the time, and you kind of go, oh, not again. You know, and you're trying to do something, and there's a cat there that walks on the keyboard, or you know, is walking on the desk here, and I can't do anything, or it wants to forever be sort of really close to you, and at least when they're by you, it's a companionship as well. You know, you can get on with things, and they'll sit and watch or whatever, and it's fun. Although we did have a kitten once. It's called Popcorn. Fortunately, it's a kitten that's not with us anymore, or a young cat as he got to be. But Popcorn would actually lay across my shoulder. Actually, Maui would do that as well. In fact, yeah, we've had 3 cats that'll do it. Popcorn would sort of sit on my shoulder. In fact, I'm trying to remember which one it was now. One of them would sit on my shoulder, the other would sit over my shoulder. Now you can go, and if you put your hand around a cat's middle and pick it up, it's sort of, you know, 4 paws are down, but it's sort of bent like a horseshoe. He would sit with his paws down my back and down my front, or lay like that if you like, just bent over my shoulder. The other one would actually sort of sit with his paws on my shoulder, so he was crouched down. Mindy, you to put her there, but she would lay with her back paws on one side and her front paws on the other around your neck, like a fur collar, which was quite warm. But when you sat in a chair, you got to sit forward for her to do it. Or you had to sit forward for her to do it, I'm afraid to say, but. Have you found Kiara and Koji being around you a bit more these last couple of days? More than normal? Yeah, but... One thing we seem to... It could be wishful thinking, or it could just be coincidence. One thing we seem to have found when we have lost one of the cats is that the others, for about a week or so, the others just seem to want to be around you a lot more. I don't know. It could be kind of wishful thinking, or it could be just something that you notice more because of the circumstances. But you kind of like, you suddenly find that, when you previously you might have had, been sat down and there might be one cat around or something like that. All of a sudden there'll be, afterwards there's all, in our case 3 or 4 of them are all suddenly sat on the settee with you and or around your feet. I just wondered if it was something that you also had noticed, or whether it was just wishful thinking on our part. Oh, you're awake now, you Junior? You're still not going to move, are you? But at least I can put my foot a bit more in a comfortable position. Right, for anybody that's watching, this is Pyrography, the science of cooking wood. Say cooking wood, not burning wood. There's no flames involved, and the process is so very similar to cooking. If you make toast, you're doing almost exactly the same thing as I'm doing here with a piece of wood. So I'm toasting wood. It kind of is. It's a process of drying out the surface, and in doing so you change the colour. And just like with toast, the more heat you get, the darker it goes. Ultimately, you, in quotes, burn your toast, you carbonise it, and that's what will happen with the wood as well. You very rarely set toast on fire. And I've never yet set a piece of wood on fire, even at really high heat levels where one of these tools has been glowing, it just does not burn. So I say painting with heat or cooking wood these days for pyrography. Although the literal translation is fire writing from the ancient Greek. And I suspect that, the ancient Greek usage of it was more writing with fire rather than fire writing. So rather than burning, you were writing using fire, using the heat of fire. I think it's if you think of the translation in that way, then sort of painting with heat, as I describe it, is quite sort of fairly close to that sort of the roots of pyrography itself. And of course, these days we tend to use self-heated tools like this. But in the past, it would have been probably some form of metal object. So sailors, for example, used to do it on the old sailing ships. They'd use a spirit burner, a little tiny spirit burner, the sort of thing, if you've ever had a chemistry kit as a young child, the sort of methylated spirits burners that you used to get. Well, there wouldn't have been methylated spirits on the ship, but it would have been a lamp oil of some kind and a little tiny burner. And they used to use a sailmaker's needle, which would have been a heavy iron needle. Heat that in the flame till it was hot, and then use that to mark the wood or whatever it was they were burning. Probably at that time would have been either bone perhaps, or ivory maybe even. Before that, I don't know what they would have used. Perhaps smouldering sticks, maybe. I mean, I am now guessing completely, or maybe the possibility of using like heated stones. Yeah, I am, aren't I, Wolfie? Really slow. Although I've sort of done all around here so far this evening, so I'm not doing that bad. The mistake is in the deck limit shading. No, it's not. I have got you really puzzled by that one, haven't I, Wolfie? You may not understand, Laser. There is a mistake on this. And Wolfie there, Super Speedy, he gave me the original image for this, and he can't spot the mistake. And it is actually sort of quite a well, I was about to say it is quite a visible mistake. It's a visible mistake when you know where it is. When you don't know where it is, as Wolfie is illustrating, he can't find it. I didn't. I made the mistake, and I'm reading. I'm looking at a sample picture, shall we say, a reference picture, and I made the mistake when I made it. That's how easy it is to confuse these things, and that's why it's actually quite hard to spot. You could say you were near it, Wolfie, but there again, you could say that the number 8's near it as well. I've been talking most of the evening to Lazar, so it's you know me by now. I tend to slow down when I start talking. So what I'm going to do tonight is finish this frame, I think, around the outside. And then tomorrow we kind of almost have no choice but to start in there, though I may just do these white bits around. Yeah. Well, you'd never notice I slowed down. Either you're being true there, Lazar, because of course you've watched me stream a lot, so you know you'll never know me do anything different. Mind you, neither is Wolfie for that matter. I always have a tendency to stop whilst I'm talking, but it's not. Pyrography isn't actually that fast. I know, I think you've probably both heard it before, but a lot of people's perception when they've seen pyrography, they've seen it on the, on YouTube, where most of the time it's speeded up. And it's speeded up sort of 100, 200 times. And, something like this gets done in 20 minutes, when you speed it up, and people tend to think that that is actually how quick it takes, especially when you see, you might see a movement like this, and you can see the wood going brown, but that's somebody doing it at the speed that I'm doing this here, but speeded up a lot. And you can see the wood goes quite dark, and so often a time lapse, a speeded up pyrography, doesn't actually look speeded up. It's not like some other things that if I was doing the jewellery, for example. If I speed that up, it's immediately obvious that you could not be doing things at that speed. But with the pyrography, because everything's slowed down, when you're doing it, it looks natural when you speed it up. And Wolfie, I can say exactly the same thing as I did the other night. I'm sure you possibly could if you have the skills, and I'm glad to know that you've got those skills. Even if you'd point me at the video that you've made to show how you do it, I'd love to learn more, Wolfie. No, I don't mind at all. It's fun to be to talk. Okay, Laser. I don't mind. It's not distracting me that much. It's not distracting. It's part of the conversation. It's part of the channel, isn't it? It's part of the interaction, and I have fun doing it. And I don't mind interrupting. Partly it is because if I'm talking and I'm not concentrating on what I'm doing, I will end up applying too much heat or wandering offline, or possibly even catching it on my fingers, burning myself, and I don't want to do that, which is why I tend to stop more than anything. Yeah, the troll that came by. You see the mistake, do you? Okay, well, you tell me where it is, Wolfie. I mean, I have given you kind of enough hints as to where it might be. I didn't check, did I? Bear me a second. I will. I think Incredible Wolfie has got the permit, but not Super Speedy. There you go. Let's see if you're right. That's not a bad guess. It's not quite right. I haven't shaded that yet. You're close. You're really close, but it's not that big. It's interesting that that picture you've linked there. How many slight different variations there are on the card? I mean, the one that you linked to me right at the start has around that sort of the image that's there. There's another frame on the card, and which is this bit around the outside. And that's not the mistake, by the way. It's just I guess it's just interesting how there's very slight different variations on card. I've never seen them like that without that border behind it, so that the dragon is the edge of the card, or the dragonite, whatever it is. It's so on the if I show you this one, this is the one that you originally linked to me. You can see how this one's drawn with a frame, if you like, around the card, around the top as well. Which is and me, of course, I know nothing. I don't know whether that's meant to have the gold band around it, or whether that's like an enhanced card of some kind because it's got a gold border. But you are getting close there, Wolfie. You are really close, but that bit that's in the middle there, I just haven't coloured yet. So that's not the mistake. Now it is quite literally I've done something. Okay? That something isn't something I should have done. Or what I haven't done is something that I should have done. I'm not trying to be too vague, but it's kind of difficult to give you any more of a clue. But you're really close. Okay, Super Speedy. Do you want to attempt to continue to find it yourself? Or would you like me to tell you? Because you've tried hard. I won't tease you anymore if you want to, if you would like me to tell you. Okay. Some people like the challenge. That's good. I'm in some ways I'm kind of glad you're finding it difficult, because you know you've got a more than a familiarity with the cards, and you're not easily able to spot it. So I've disguised it really well, and that's good, because it means I'd have to throw it away. I don't get people saying you've done that bit wrong, which it is. So I'm kind of difficult. So I'm kind of pleased in a way that you are finding it a bit difficult. You never play this card. Yeah. Alright. Well, there you go then. I was... well, I suppose I was giving you a compliment, and you're now trolling me. Oh well, maybe other people will be able to spot it so much easier than you then, Wolfie. By the way, how's world domination going today? You thought I'd forgotten. By the way, has your YouTube timeline sorted itself out, you know, for the videos? Am I no longer dominating the your first few pages of newly launched videos? Yeah, I know, Super Speedy. I know, Wolfie. You already rule the world. We just don't know it yet, but got to keep up the pretense, you see, for anybody else that's watching. I'm just wondering about your YouTube timeline, you see, because if you'd managed to sort it out so that I wasn't dominating the first few pages, I think I've got about 40 videos to make public, which is starting tonight. So look out for your timeline just go out the window again. I've uploaded about 60 gigabytes since yesterday morning. Which is about 30 or 40 videos. Well, the trouble is, then I have to go through each and every one of them and update the titles and descriptions and links and things. That's it. You see, you've taken over the world. I'm taking over YouTube. YouTube timelines. YouTube lists. What do you call them? Well, you know, you know what they're called. I can't remember. I got a new computer today. Arrived in the post. I've got myself a micro server. I've made it so you don't watch League of Legends because I've saturated your thing, and I'm about to do it again. Yeah. yeah, I came across something that told me about microservers before. When I've looked at servers, and I have a server which is set over there. I built them from on a PC chassis, and that's the server that I use at home, which is a virtual host. So it runs about 6 virtual machines. It's set over there, and I built that from a motherboard and chassis and everything else. Came across earlier, back end of last week, microservers. Now in the UK, I've got it's a Core 2. I think it's a Core 2. I can't actually remember what it is. It's a dual core processor new, which is what the main server is. Because I don't need an out and out power hungry monster. But 150 UK pounds, so that'd be what more or less the same in euros for the machine. It comes without discs, and has 4 gigs of memory in it, so it's not bad. It could do with a bit more as a server, but that just add discs more or less and an operating system, and you've got a full-blown server. It'll carry 4 discs, so it'll run. You can run RAID on it, although it's software RAID. But I happen to have a hardware RAID card anyway. And I was kind of surprised that's cheaper than I can make one. I just can't think. Yeah. Well, as soon as I get the others, it will quieten down, Wolfie, I promise. Once I get them all uploaded. And there's no point in holding them back to sort of release over time, because there's just so many to upload. It would have exactly the same effect, so I just make them all public as I go through. But yeah, I'm kind of I haven't fired it up yet because I don't have a system disk for it, and I need to get probably at least 3 terabyte drives, I think, for it. But it's got it's quite a nice machine. It's not the most recent of its class, but it's really quite a nice sort of looking machine. You can gain access to it very easily. You open the front door. It's got drive caddies, so you can just pull a drive out. And whether they're not hot swap as such, but you can just pull a drive out. You can pull a panel off the side to get. You just lift the lid off to get to memory. You can pull a motherboard tray out. It's really rather a nice, nicely designed chassis. And that's because I need to rebuild my master server, and I can't actually rebuild the master server because we're using it. So what I need to do is build another server, transfer the virtual machines to it, then I can rebuild the master server. It just wants a complete new upload of the operating system. It's so out of date. It would take several days to bring it back up to the latest version of Linux. And there's so much that would need to change on it that it possibly wouldn't come back up. So I need to be able to blow it away and start again, but I can't do that without having somewhere to run all the virtual machines. But then once I've got them both built, I can actually run them as a cluster with auto failover, which will be rather nice. I'll have twice the amount of processing power with failover between them. And of course, to anybody watching, that probably is of absolutely no interest at all, but it is to me. I'm kind of torn between running virtual machines and running Raspberry Pis for a lot of the stuff. One of the main home control processors that is a Raspberry Pi, also runs DNS name services both internally and externally, and it's a DHCP server for the house as well, and I keep thinking it's running it all, but I keep thinking I've got no backup on this and I must back it up and things like that. It's partly what the new machine is for and why I need to rebuild the old one, because the old one's run out of disk space. And putting a new disk in it I can do, but it would just get really complicated. But then I'll have a better backup solution, because at the moment the main PCs are backing up to a Windows server, but they are the Windows server is running out of disk space, which is never good for backups. And given that I'm sort of running a fair amount of disk space and a fairly large virtual machine just to run backups, it's kind of a bit pointless. And this in theory should be some quite nice Unix ones which are light on resources. Oh, that's nice. Oh, it's nice when they go to sleep on you, because that is a real trust. Although of course, Laser, you realise you cannot move now. You can't move that arm, you cannot move, you have to sit there, no matter whether you want a drink, and of course you've got to type one-handed now. I've been there many a time. That wants to be a bit darker down here, so we will come back around that in a minute. Well, listen, what I might do, I think, is put an outline around it completely. Okay, I started dark down here and I want to sort of continue it fairly dark up there, so I now need to probably apply a little bit more heat, because then I can do this a little bit faster. Yeah, Junior's gone back to sleep on the floor, so he's moved over a little bit, so I've got a bit more space. Yeah, there's yeah. I think I said to you earlier, Junior's down here, and I'm standing really awkwardly around him. I'm not disturbing the cat. It's kind of an awkward and uncomfortable position to stand in, but I'm still doing it. Well, I have to say the computer fan that's sat just there, that's what that black thing is, you can see, is a computer fan. It's running at about 8 volts rather than 12, so it's not running really fast. It's sucking air that way, and it's working really well to keep the vapour out of my eyes. So I'm not generating a lot of vapour, but I am generating some, and it's very nicely sucking it away, so it's not affecting my eyes, which is really nice. And it's just plugged into a power supply I've got down there, variable power supply on the other desk. Well, it's not even plugged in, the wires are stuffed into the end of the socket, and it's working rather nicely. I perhaps ought to put something, put a proper power supply on it and a proper plug of some kind. Trouble is, most convenient power supplies these days are 5 volts, you know, for USB stuff, and this won't start on 5 volts. What, this fan? Actually, I've got a Typhoon around somewhere, maybe that will, but what I might have to do is put a voltage boost converter in and to run it at 8 volts. Finally found a use for the old computer fans that I took out of the water-cooled machine. Apparently I took them out because I don't need them on a water-cooled machine, but I didn't use them on the radiator because they're actually too noisy compared to with what I've got in. The cyclones that I've got in are virtually silent. Yeah, that's right. You're just a conveniently warm bed, but yeah, it does make you strangely reluctant to move. When if I sit down in a chair for not too long a period, and you know the period varies, I get to the point where it actually becomes painful for me to sit in the chair, and I actually have to stand up. It's not painful, it doesn't hurt, but I just can't sit still, and I actually have to stand up. And it gets, when Junior comes and sits on me, because it's so rare that he comes and sits on your knee, that you kind of really don't want to move, and I literally sort of are trying to sort of just move around slightly in the chair just to avoid the compulsion to stand up, and it's quite good fun. And then suddenly Junior will I don't know if he realises or he just gets fed up with the slight movement or whatever it is, but he'll suddenly get up and jump down and think, ah, that's nice. Thank you, Junior. I'll stand up now. You're playing No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky. Yes. I'm trying to think what that one is. What's the premise of what's the one behind No Man's Sky? What's the story behind it, Wolfie? I'm trying to think. I mean, I've watched enough people playing. Not enough people. I've watched a few people playing it enough, but I'm just trying to think which one No Man's Sky is. Exploring and building in space. Oh, is this the one a while ago that got slated for basically having no sort of or very little point to it? Yeah, you could follow the path of the magic god, or go your own way type of thing. Yeah, I watched a few people play it, and it when I saw it, it kind of looked really repetitive. You know, you just kept doing the same thing. You were always hunting for minerals and things, weren't it? And you were looking for things. Yeah, you went to space stations. You could trade with other people and what have you. Yeah, sort of is. I gather there's sort of a story to get to the centre of the universe or something, for some unspecified reason. It didn't seem like they'd handled the non-story bit very well. It has changed. Oh, okay. I'll take a look at it. It had the potential to be interesting. But from what I saw, it was sort of, you were building for the sake of building back then. You know, you were getting a better ship for the sake of getting a better ship. It didn't really serve much purpose. Yeah, that was kind of it. I mean, I think that was that was the view of a lot of people. It was kind of launched too early. And that sort of suggested it was going to have all these wonderful things like multiplayer and stuff. And when they launched, it didn't have anything of what they said it was going to have. And I know a lot of people sort of lost faith, shall we say, with it at that point. But and a lot of people were going, you know, they could see that it could be developed in that way. And yeah, it looks like. Well, maybe I'll have to have a look around and see if anybody who happens to be playing it, you know, and who's streaming. And okay, so it's for you. It's a game just to sort of sit back and just not have to think, if you know what I mean. I don't mean it like that, but you don't have to concentrate and really study and think hard on things. A game to relax by, yeah. Yeah, I understand. I kind of that's almost the sort of game I mean, that sounds daft, but I used to play Minecraft or even Truck Simulator and things like that, just because it's that sort of thing. You could relax doing it. You know, there was no, well, you're driving, but there was no split second reactions to things. You didn't have to sort of accurately position a gun cursor or anything like that. And yeah, I don't know, grind games. I mean, I was thinking things like Minecraft, for example. You can play like that, but I don't exactly call that a grind. You know, and I know what you mean, but that too much repetitive just for the sake of being repetitive is what turns me away from a game. If it's grind from the point of view of like modded Minecraft, say, or Factorio, where you're building things, or even Fortress Graphics Evolved, you're building something. You know, yes, you've got to build this to build that to build that to build that to get what you want in the end. That's a bit of a grind, but it has a point to it where it's, you know, yeah, there are two sorts of grind games. Yeah, okay. It's the bad kind that I don't like. I may go and make that darker still, but yeah, I mean, I suppose if you are, yeah, if you're playing it as like a casual pick up and put down game, then yeah, you do get that because you have to, kind of thing, nature of the game. I haven't bought a game in ages. The last game I bought was... Actually, the last game I bought was Train Sim World, but I haven't actually played that. And I'm not actually sure my machine will actually run it at a decent frame rate, but that's mainly because the video card just won't deal with it. I think I can run it in sort of low resolution, but the game I was thinking of that I'd last bought was actually American Truck Simulator, and I haven't played that one either. And off the top of my head, I bought that before last Christmas, or just after last Christmas. Yeah, it must have been just after, because they have a Christmas event, which I took part in, but only on the European Truck Simulator. Well, that's kind of obvious. Yeah, it's still saving that. Okay. Yeah. It seems a pity sometimes with some games where you have that, you kind of feel that there's so much potential there because it's well executed, but isn't quite. It's missing something. There are times when the times where you want to take something like I don't know, No Man's Skies and space simulator and building a space base, and you want to take something like Factorio and mash them into one big game that you got to explore the planets to build a space station, and while you're on the other planets you're going to build all these things to make the material, to get the materials to build your space. You kind of want to do that with it. Or the other one is you've got flight simulator, you've got rail simulator, you've got the road simulators with the trucking and things like that. And you kind of want to put them all into one world, so you feel like you drive a truck from A to B, you get out and get into a train cab and drive the train and to the airport, and you get out of the airport and jump in the plane and fly the plane somewhere. You kind of want to do that with some games. Yeah, it was really hyped up. Space Engineer, that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, for the space station builder. And it sort of lets you do the space mining as well, and that actually it is a good example in that it kind of is progressive. A little bit grindy, but kind of is progressive. But I kind of think of that would be, if you took that with No Man's Sky, if you like, and merge the two together, because the Space Engineers have got that good building mechanic, and No Man's Sky's got the exploration mechanic. And so to build your space station in order to build your I'm going to say rocket spaceship. I couldn't get the words out. In order to go explore, that sort of thing would be kind of fun. Yeah. Right. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dark line right around the outside of the card. Oops, not that dark. Well, maybe that dark, but not that quickly. Yeah, I'm about to finish soon, Leazar. Thank you for dropping in. So, as I say, sorry to hear about the cat, and many prayers to Kiara and to Kochi. May they live long and prosper, to mix two completely different things up. Okay, just outline all the way around. This one's a relatively easy job because it's just dark. I don't have to worry about shading it too well, although I am trying to keep a consistent line width down here because we're going across grain. You're getting little dots appearing just as the tip is dropping into the bits between the grain, is kind of the rings, and there's rings in between rings, and the rings are a little bit harder than the between rings, so as the pen goes, it sort of drops in to the between rings bits and creates a little bit of a dark, thicker line at that point. So other than that, I'm just just going to be a little bit careful of it. It's a relatively easy thing to do with sort of quite dark lines like this. Depends quite on how detailed I want to be about it. As I turn the corner and come up the side, because we're then sort of running in line with the grain, it certainly is a less of an effect. This board is very slightly warped, and that's because that's from the pyrography. Because it's drying out the top surface shrinks slightly and causes the board to bend up. Quite a lot of stress in doing so, because this is plywood, which is kind of designed not to do that, and which is the reason why I use plywood at this thickness rather than a solid piece of wood at this thickness, because if I did use a solid piece of birch, for example, at this thickness, it would actually bend up quite considerably, warp quite a bit, and it would this rocks slightly, it would rock a lot. You have to use sort of about a quarter to a half-inch thick board if you're using solid wood and you don't want it to warp. That's with this sort of coverage. If you were sort of doing fairly sparse coverage like writing, for example, that's less of a problem. I'll just go straight through that one. Now, I don't know whether I want to outline the dragon, so we'll leave that till later. But I may not, because it kind of looks like then it's hung. It's hung itself like it was a live one that had laid on top of it, sort of covering up the background, rather than if I outline it, it will kind of look as though it's part of the picture, if you see what I mean. I'm just playing about with it. I can always outline it again afterwards. But time now, after 9 AM, 9 AM, it's after 9, it's definitely after 9 AM, and it's certainly probably 9 AM somewhere around in the world. But it's 9 PM here in the UK, just after. And I think that will be it for tonight. We have this evening done the complete border and the black line around the outside, so we move inwards. May do the shield, may leave that well later. Could fill in these bits here, the white bits. There's the dragon, and then we move into the window, because that's kind of what it is. It's a frame or a window, isn't it? With the Shadowreaper Anduin actually inside it. I'm not sure what I'm looking forward to, but we shall see. We'll do one or other of them on the next stream. Before I tell you about that, I'm just going to again tell those people who may not know and who are watching about the blue box down here at the right hand side containing all the URLs. Zaragonart.com is mine, kind of reasonably. Zaragonart channel, Zaragonart.com, kind of goes together. That's got information about some of the pieces and some of the well, it's got information about the art forms, but some of them have got more detail than others, and some of the pyrography pieces or the jewellery, for example. It will also tell you about the inspiration or why the picture or item was made. Then there's of course the social media channels, Facebook and Twitter. Of course, Twitter, great one if you want to know when I'm about to start streaming and you're not running Twitch, or if I'm not going to stream, I will generally tweet out that sort of information, stream related stuff. Not a lot, I'm not going into that catchphrase, but there will be some. And of course we've got YouTube there. I am gradually polluting Wolfie's Super Speedy's list of videos to watch by uploading 60 and 70 at a time. So I'm uploading the whole of the old archive of Twitch, so just about every broadcast that I've made on Twitch is gradually now being uploaded onto YouTube. If you would like to see some of those, they are going up. There is 700 plus of them when I finished, I think. 3/4 of a terabyte of video. That's over 700-800 hours of video. That's how much I've had been broadcasting. It keeps growing now, of course, on a daily basis. And I will also mention the 2 buttons up at the top of the screen. Actually, I missed one. I will mention the 2 buttons at the top of the screen, but I'm going to just mention, of course, zeragonart.etsy.com, which is the shop, which has got things like the chainmail in it. So if you're interested in chainmail jewellery as presents or for yourself, some nice heavy stainless steel, if that's what you like, all sorts of stuff, then take a look at the shop. Coming up to Christmas, good place to buy that sort of present. At least I think so. Now the 2 buttons at the top. Of course, there's a follow button if you would like to be at least notified or see me on your follower list or know when I'm live. Follow the channel, you'll be able to see that, and if you allow Twitch to notify you, you'll get the notifications there. And if you would like to consider, I'd like you to consider, but if you'd like to consider subscribing to the channel, then the proceeds of which go towards helping the channel to actually do things like buy wood for pyrography, buy thread for punchcraft, engraving tools for the glass engraving, or anything like that. That's just examples. Maybe even a new camera. Could do with a 3rd camera for close-ups and things. But that sort of thing it goes towards. Then push that button as well. You can even use a free sub if you like. Then it doesn't cost you. It costs Google, Amazon. Oh, I've forgotten who owns it now. Well, whoever it is, it costs them. It's Amazon. It's Amazon. It costs Amazon because they give me their bit, even if it's a Prime membership. So I might like to consider that. I'd like you to, but it's up to you, of course. And with that, I'm going to say I should be streaming again tomorrow night. I will start somewhere between 7 PM and 8 PM UK time, that's GMT. We'll go on till 9 o'clock to 9:30, somewhere in that time, depending on just what's going on in terms of where we are in whatever it is that we're doing. And with that, I shall look forward to seeing you on the next stream. Bye for now.